Welcome to Table Talk here at the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world, 12 years strong. We got a great Table Talk interview show coming your way this week. We have from one of our favorite sites out there. He's a contributor at thatballsoutahere.com over on Fansided, our good friend Eric Moratelli. How you doing, buddy?
Hi, Jeff. I'm doing well. How are you? Happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day as we're recording this here on May 26, 2025. I'm feeling really good about this Phillies team, man. Seriously, it's beginning of the season. We're going to get into it a little bit here, but beginning of the season, things were just really up and down, kind of rough. But I wanted to bring you on to grade this team because I think the grades are going to be pretty interesting when we start getting into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like a tale of two seasons, right? I mean,
yes,
I feel like they weren't even playing terribly, but there was definitely that kind of bottom point against, when we got swept by the Mets there.
Yeah.
But since then, it's hard to argue. Now, I know some of the arguments been, well, it was the Pirates, it was the Rockies, it was the A's. But, you got to take care of those types of teams.
Absolutely.
And even before that, there were series where you're starting to get contributions from guys who maybe struggled a little bit at the beginning of the year. So it's really interesting because you've had such a different dynamic. I mean, and we'll talk about it, but the starting pitching has been consistent. But other than that, everything else has been kind of much better. And it's been much more fun to watch, we'll say.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, let's get into it. I know we're going to get into the grades here, but I really wanted to dive into more detail how this team got to where they're at right now with the best record, Major League Baseball, as of us recording this year. Like we said, there were some stumbles out of the gate. You talked about, them getting swept by the Mets. That was absolutely a horrendous series to watch in a lot of different ways. Star veteran players have been up and down throughout the course of this season, and they've been streaky too. There have been streaky aspects to this team. And yes, we know baseball is streaky, but now the team is kind of just pulling out all the stops. I know they lost to the A's last night, but still they're at a great point here in this season. How do you think they got to this point here, Eric?
Like you said, I mean, baseball is such a game of streaks. It's just such a long season. The starting pitching, I think, has really been what has carried them. You're getting it from pretty much everyone. I know Nola he was kind of the iffy guy. He had a couple good outings here and there. He had some not so good outings, and obviously he's been on the injured list now for a little while. But you're getting performances from pretty much everyone. Even Taijuan Walker has been a really pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Jesus Luzardo. I mean, I was thrilled when they traded for him. I've been a Luzardo guy for a long time.
Yes, yeah.
But he has been he has been way more than you could possibly ask for. I know yesterday his outing yesterday started out a little rocky, but he settled in. I mean, the starting pitching has been great. The offense has been, I would say, it's trending the right direction, right? It was inconsistent, but it's trending in the right direction. You're starting to get contributions from a lot of different guys in the lineup. And at the beginning of the year, I think a lot of it was kind of some of those ancillary players. Now, Bryce is heating up. Turner's getting on base at an incredible clip. Schwarber's doing, Schwarber's being Schwarber, hitting home runs, getting on base, driving in runs. So you're kind of starting to see them put that together. And this offense is too good to be what they were at the end of last season, beginning of this season. So it was kind of just a matter of time as to when some of these guys were going to start kind of breaking out of it.
Yeah.
The one piece that I think is kind of the issue right now and is a little scary is the bullpen, especially with Alvarado now missing a big chunk of time and being ineligible for the postseason. But if the offense is hitting and your starting pitching is going deep into games, it makes it a little bit easier. And right now they have that going. You can't rely on that though, because
right,
it's a game of ebbs and flows, right?
It absolutely is. Yeah, it absolutely. We're going to get to the bullpen, of course, with our grades. It's going to be interesting to see how you grade them, how I grade them as well. But let's start off with our grades with this Philadelphia Phillies 2025 team. Let's first start with the infield. Infield as a group, how they have performed on offense and defense. And we're going to give some details as to why we're going to be given those grades. So let's start off first with grading the Phillies infield and the offense. I'll let you start first, buddy. What are your thoughts in terms of your grade for the infield, the way that they have performed offensively? And then I'll give you mine.
So it's interesting, right? Because we said how it's kind of been a tale of two seasons. So You look at Bohm in April, you give him an F, right? But now he's so you got to look. I guess you got to look at the averages here. I would say in terms of infield offense, I think if we're looking right now on May 26th,
Yep.
and just
Yep.
where we're at, I think B minus is probably a fair grade.
I was
For
going to give him a B plus. I was actually going to give him a B plus based on how a few of these guys have bounced back. You talked about Alec Boehm,
Mhm.
Trey Turner, the way he's been getting on base, how you mentioned. I think, I really sometimes I'm starting to not particularly care for the phrase, is he worth the contract, regardless of who it is in sports? Because I want to see players get paid. I'm always that type of guy. I want to see players get paid if they deserve to get paid and if an organization is going to do it. Like, if he is living up to his contract, Trey Turner, like I don't know, but what he's doing right now, he's doing what baseball players need to do with getting on base and putting the team in a very good position. Bryce Harper is starting to do that now. Bryson Stott, he is having a much better season than what he had last year, of course. In terms of his offense, his plate discipline, I think, has been a lot better this season than last year, which is why I'm going to give the infield and JT Real Muto as well. I mean, let's talk about how he initially we talked about it before, him possibly on the downslide of his career, but he's been a very productive member of this team from an offensive standpoint, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm giving a B plus here, but I totally get B minus too.
Yeah, I mean, I think anywhere in that range is fair. And again, it's on the upswing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if it is really all just about timing. So, but yeah, I mean, getting Harper back to doing what he's supposed to be doing. Turner, it's it's interesting. Like he's getting on base, which is exactly what you want, right? He's stealing
Yes.
bases, which is what we want. There's still like a little bit maybe missing in the gap to gap power, or even I know he hit the home run the other yesterday, or 2 days ago. Sorry, but so that's starting to come around. But honestly, when he's hitting one or two in your lineup, get him on base for Bryce, for Schwarber coming up after that. Bohm, like we said, has been as I think what he was hitting under 200 in
Yes.
the month of April, and now I think he's hitting like 360 something in May. So it's like they're starting to come around. These guys are always baseball is such a game of like averages, right? Like
Yes.
you kind of knew Bohm it was not going to be a 180 hitter for the whole season. I mean, is he going to be the best hitter in the league? No, but you look at the back of the baseball card, it's always going to trend to the mean.
Right.
Bryce, I was never concerned about. It's like, okay, get your slump out of the way now, and then go on your hot streak for the summer, and this will be a lot of fun to watch. So yeah, the infield has definitely been trending in the right direction. So yeah, I mean, I think B plus right around where we were saying there, I think is a fair grade.
Perfect. All right. Well, let's move to the infield in terms of their defense, their defensive productivity this year. I mean, we have seen some good, we've seen some not so good here at times. I do think, and I know we're talking about right now, May 26, 2025, what we would grade them. Alec Boehm and his defense over the years has just improved. It has. And I know we're talking about this year. We've certainly seen some hiccups here and there from him. Trey Turner, there's always some hiccups here and there with him, but then we've also seen some really good plays from him as well. You talk about that, just baseball's a game of averages here, right, Eric? So, a lot of these guys, Bryson Stott, I think has been a really good defensive player for this team. And JT Real Muto, holy cow, the way he's been able to pick off guys trying to steal second. I think it's been fantastic. I'm actually going to give their defense a B, just a straight up B this year. I don't know. What do you give them?
I think a B is perfectly fair. I was thinking the same thing.
Okay.
And honestly, the only thing really bringing it down, I think, is Trey Turner's
It's
defense.
Trey Turner. Yeah.
Bohm has obviously made a lot of strides from where he started out when he came to the big leagues. Is he perfect? No, but he's come a long way, and he's not hurting you there. I mean, in fact,
Right.
actually, I would say in certain cases he's been above average, not statistically, but some of the plays he's making, he's transitioned really nicely there. Bryson Stott, I think, might be one of the best defensive second basemen in baseball. Like that guy gets to every ball. He is so good where he's at. I would not be surprised if, whether it's this year or in a couple of years, if we're looking at him as a potential Gold Glove candidate.
Yeah.
Bryce has transitioned seamlessly to first base for only doing it for so long.
Yep.
And you mentioned JT. JT has always been like, as the offense is dipping, the defense isn't. I mean,
Yep.
his offense isn't terrible, but obviously it's a drop off from when we signed him. But between throwing guys out at second, getting blocking balls. And also, I think this kind of goes into it too, just like his handling of a pitching staff, how good he is at handling the pitching staff,
Yes. Yep.
and just knowing those guys, I think makes a big difference too. So I think B, or B, I would say is probably fair. Trey Turner is just like, as the offense is coming along, the defense does not seem to be like, he'll make a really good play every now and
Right.
then,
Right.
but then he lets 2 games in a row he'll let one through his legs or make some bad throw or something like
Right.
that. So it's one of those things where this is a conversation for a different day, but I wonder how long his time at shortstop is really going to be there for.
I'm thinking the same thing. It's definitely something we're going to be talking about on this podcast platform more and more as we move along here in the coming weeks and months. Let's now look at the outfield of this Philadelphia Phillies team here, and let's look at the offensive productivity that they have had and grade it here. What are your thoughts here, Eric? What grade would you give the offense as a whole in terms of the outfield?
So it's actually been, I think, better than expected. But
Absolutely.
there's still some
Yeah.
holes. I'm gonna go B- for the outfield. I think.
Okay.
You're getting, Castellanos. You know what you're gonna get from him, right?
Yep.
He's doing a better job at laying off pitches outside. Like I feel like it'll be funny. Like it'll be, you're watching a game and he's always good. There's gonna be one at bat where he's gonna go after that outside slider or curveball. But then he kind of he stops. Like it's not like when in what was it? I guess 2023, when he was just, if you threw a pitch outside the zone, he was chasing it. It didn't matter what it was. He was chasing it. He's gotten a lot better with discipline. Rojas and Marsh, after coming off the injured list, they have been both pretty productive in terms of offense. Again, you don't need them to be your superstar players, but they're getting on base. And when both those guys get on base, they have speed, and that just generates more runs.
Absolutely. Johan Rojas, real quick, is batting
Mhm.
253 as of us recording this. I
Yeah.
will take that from him any day of the week.
Your number 9 hitter, who, when I think if we, especially coming into this season, I really thought this was kind of maybe his last shot here.
Yep.
But he's doing what he needs to do to get by, and he's holding his own. Left field with Kepler, his numbers are kind of not great. I know he's hitting like in the low, it was what, 220s, 230 range. Yeah.
228.
Okay. But he's hitting the ball hard, and I feel like those numbers are going to start going up. I know he had the home run the other night to tie the game. He has the power. If he's healthy, for what we're paying him and what we signed him to be, kind of, to just strengthen the outfield a little bit there, I think he's doing his job. Again, you're not I think there's got to be tempered expectations, right, with what you're going to get from him. But I really think by the end of the season, or even by the All-Star break, we're going to see him around the 250, 260 range. And I think at the end of the season, it wouldn't be a shock to see him in the 15 to 20 home run range. I know because he kind of gets that platoon a little bit. So he's gonna miss some at bats there. But what do you think?
I was actually going to give a C+, and it was actually based on Max Kepler, even though he's actually exceeding some of the expectations that we talked about coming into this season. And when I say that, I honestly thought the guy was going to be batting maybe around 210, 215 or so at this particular point in the season. But, right out of the gate this season, I think he was showing us a little something. He's showing, okay, yeah, you know what, injury stuff, not really affecting me. But again, everybody goes through slumps. Everybody goes through that in Major League Baseball in general. So, like you said, with Nick Castellanos doing what he has been doing, I mean, he's batting 271 at this point. He's got 29 RBIs, 4 home runs. It's to be expected in terms of what Nick Castellanos is going to give us. And then, like I said, I will take what Johan Rojas is doing any day of the week at this point. So that's why I'm going to give this C+, and it really is because of Max Kepler at this point.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, all right. Let's move on to the defense here. All right, I'm gonna get you started here, buddy, on the defense in terms of the outfield. What grade are you going to give them?
I think it depends a little bit on the makeup. I would probably actually say I would probably say a B+.
Okay. I was going to go with B. I was going to go with B. Yep.
We seem to be like, well, yeah, we're just like a half a point off on everything here. It seems like kind of we're like either plus minus or right on. So
right.
I think Castellanos from a metrics standpoint isn't necessarily a great outfielder from a defensive perspective, but he's done a lot of work to be serviceable out there. And
Yes.
it's fun. Like he'll make what look like really good plays, but the reason they look like really good plays is because he's a little bit slower and isn't getting them
Right, right.
getting to the ball as quickly. But either way, like he's not necessarily hurting you out there. Rojas and Marsh, you pretty much know, like they're kind of here for defensive purposes. Like Marsh's throw the other night to save that game, that was awesome. Like that was to me, I didn't because his arm was he could get to balls, but his arm was never something that I really looked at as kind of an above average tool.
Right.
But that throw right there was like it was right on the money. It had just enough zip on it. It was perfect. And I think Kepler is an upgrade in left field because of the offensive standpoint, right? Like last year they were doing the Marsh Rojas kind of left in center field,
Yep.
but you're losing a little bit in terms of offensive production there.
Yep.
But Kepler who's only played maybe not much time, I forget exactly how much time, but not much time in left field in his career. I think he's made that transition pretty seamlessly. Where he's not hurting you at all out there either. So I like the defense out there. It's way better than having Kyle Schwarber out there playing left field.
Who has only been in the outfield 4 times this season and really
That's what you
hasn't.
want to see.
Yeah, exactly. And really wasn't a detriment in those 4 times. Let's keep it up, Kyle.
Exactly, right? Hey, and that's if he only has to play a handful of games out there, and
Yep.
he's not going to get exposed, right? I mean, it just that much. And also the fact that he's not out there as much, right? His legs are not going to be as tired. You can even tell, like even on the base pass, like he looks. I don't want to say fast, but like in years past, he was like bumbling around second base, and you're like, oh my god, this guy. It looks like he's struggling to move.
Yeah.
But he's actually looking sleek on the base pass these days.
It's like higher energy. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
higher energy that he has rounded the bases.
Yeah. See, that's what
Absolutely.
happens when all you gotta do is swing. Not all you gotta do is swing the bat, but when
Yeah.
you're not standing quite as much.
Right. Well, now that we're talking about Kyle Schwarber, I know we talked about he's designated hitter, of course, so he's really not out there playing defense in terms of offense. And yes, he is technically an outfielder, when he could be put into left field. But at this point, 40 RBIs on the season. He's got 18 home runs, for God's sake. I mean, when you talk about having that in your back pocket in terms of your DH and what they're able to give this team, I mean, that right there is an A plus. That's an A plus, right?
We agree on that one. I was going to say
Yes.
A plus. Yep, we definitely agree on that one. Yeah, I mean, you can't beat it. I mean, the power numbers. He's hitting for average. He draws a ton of walks. The guy's on base. We saw what was it, 40-some games or whatever that streak was.
Yeah.
So the guy's on base all the time. He hits for power, and like everything he brings to the table is like invaluable. So
Yes.
A plus, and if you could give higher than that, is there extra credit? I'd give him some extra credit.
We should. Yeah, we should give him extra credit. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's move to the starting pitching. We're going to grade the starting pitching of this Philadelphia Phillies team. And boy, again, has it been up and down throughout the season? More ups, of course, because as we mentioned at the top, folks, I mean, if it wasn't for this Phillies pitching staff, the team probably wouldn't be having the type of season right now in May that they are. So, Eric, I'll let you go first in terms of your grade for this Phillies starting pitching unit. What are your thoughts here?
I'm going to go A, I think. I mean,
that's what I'm doing too. Yep.
There's really not many, and with Taijuan Walker pitching the way he has, I know Nola, struggled a little bit out of the gate, but I think once he's healthy, again, we talked about averages and trending back to the mean. I mean, you pretty much know what you're getting with Nola almost every single season. Now this year, because he's missing some time, because the ankle injury, we might not see that 200 innings, 200 strikeout type performance, and his ERA is already so high, so he's probably not going to get back. It would be impressive if he got back below a 4 ERA at this point, I would think.
Yeah,
because he's always going to give up his runs, right? He's going to give up the home runs. It's just a matter of keeping your team in the game. But it's like when Zach Wheeler goes out there, and the other night, he was kind of saying how the mound wasn't great, and you could tell like his command was a little bit off. But even when Wheeler is not having his best night, he's still like a top probably 15 pitcher in the National League. I mean, he's that good. And what a signing that was. Potentially one of the best free agent signings in Phillies franchise history.
Yep.
And then being able to extend him, like he is just completely, he's a different pitcher here. And it's been, perennial. He's in contention for the Cy Young, or in conversation for the Cy Young every single year.
Yep.
Just what he's been able to do is so impressive. Christopher Sanchez is picking it up. It feels like his command is a little different this year. He's been walking more, but he seems to still be able to get out of it, just because like his changeup is one of the best pitches in all of baseball.
Yeah.
Ranger Suarez, after his first outing, has really settled in, and he's looked really comfortable and really good. And I mentioned him earlier, my boy Jesus Luzardo. I love that guy, and just what he's been able to do here so far has, I think, exceeded pretty much everyone's expectations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just in terms of stuff, he's added some new pitches. He's tinkered with some pitches. The way he grips, his velocity is looking good. He seems healthy. He's not walking a ton of guys. So everything he's doing just looks great. And then even the spot start that Mick Abel came out and had and pitched, like, what an awesome game that was. Like, that was so much fun to watch.
Yes.
So starting pitching, other than a couple frustrating NOLA outings, I don't really think have we really had many games to complain about in terms of starting pitching. I don't think we really have.
Not really. I mean, there were a couple Zach Wheeler games, one in particular, the one loss that he did have, which really wasn't even his fault. That was, if I'm remembering correctly, that was more just the offense not coming to play ball that particular day. But with Zach Wheeler, 88 strikeouts leads the team, 6 wins. He's 6-1 as of us recording this. Jesus Luzardo, 2.15 ERA. You've got Christopher Sanchez, 3.17 ERA. Zach Wheeler, 2.42 ERA. The reason this team and pitching staff, I should say, the reason the starting pitching staff doesn't get an A+ from me is obviously Aaron Nola with a 6.16 ERA. He has a chance to, once he gets back, I think he has, like you said, I don't know if he's going to get under a 4 at this point, 4.0 ERA, but that's why they're not an A+ for me. But this pitching staff is what is really keeping this team alive in so many ways. And it's fun to watch. It's just fun to watch them this year. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the bullpen now. The bullpen, grading the Phillies bullpen. This is going to be interesting. I'm going to let you go first, buddy. What are your thoughts here?
I am going to go C. And I'm going to be.
That's what I was going to
do,
like C+. I was actually going to do CC+. Actually,
okay,
yeah.
I was thinking C-. I'm going C just because we've seen some potential good things coming out of it.
Right.
It's just obviously, I think even coming into the season, it was evident that they were probably short an arm after losing Estevez and Hoffman.
Yeah.
And the way Romano started the season obviously wasn't great. He's pitched really well, except for that other night when he gave the 3 runs. But so we're starting to see some flashes from him. Like, I'm starting to feel confident in Romano. His slider is, when it's on, it's a really dirty pitch and a really good out pitch as a late inning reliever. But losing Alvarado, I think, to have like another 8th, 9th inning guy just is a complete, what's the word, detriment to this team. Because now everyone else gets pushed forward in terms of what they need to do in terms of high leverage situations. And Matt Strahm has been pretty good. Tanner Banks has actually been way better than I anticipated.
Absolutely.
Which is, thank God, because otherwise things could be really bad. But then you look at seeing some of this other part of the bullpen, and like Carlos Hernandez probably shouldn't see a mound again in the major leagues until he can figure some stuff out. Jose Ruiz, I had really big expectations for coming this season. I really hoped he could build on what he did last season, and it's just there was an injury there, but it's just not coming to fruition. Like, he just doesn't look like the same pitcher. So there's weak. I think if you're looking at this team and you're looking for a weakness, it's the bullpen. And I think in a playoff series where starting pitchers have such a short leash, your bullpen becomes way more important. And right now, if this is the Phillies bullpen going into a series in October, I'd be very scared. Yeah. I think they do something. I think they do address it. But as of right now, I think a C is all I can really give that
Yeah,
group.
I'm gonna do C. You've convinced me to take it from a C plus to a C. Look, I had such. I remember on our Phillies season preview show, my co-host Eric, we really had the high expectations for Orion Kerkering. We had
Mhm.
talked about him extensively and just his development and his growth over the past couple seasons and where his game could potentially go. Seemingly, our thought was, a higher ceiling than where he is currently at right now. He's been extremely disappointing thus far, even though he leads the team with 8 holds. I mean, okay, whatever. That's tied for like 20th in Major League Baseball. So
Yeah.
at this point, all right, congratulations. But losing Jose Alvarado it stinks. It just stinks. There's no other way to put it. The type of season he was having and what he brought to the the consistency that he was inevitably bringing to the bullpen with 7 saves already. And you talked about whether Tanner Banks being a surprise, but like you said again, I don't want to see Carlos Hernandez at all. I feel like with the bullpen, what they were going into this season doing was throwing it all against the wall, seeing what sticks.
Mhm.
And I think we have a better understanding of what's sticking, what's not sticking. They're going to address this at the trade deadline for sure. So that's thoughts there on the bullpen, folks. And we have given them a C right now, and maybe that at times that's generous based on the outing for sure. Last but not least, before we let Eric go here, we're going to grade the Phillies manager, Rob Thomson. What are you giving Rob Thomson here?
Might be controversial, but I'm giving him an A minus. I
Okay.
think
I
I
was going to
think
give him a B plus. We're right
all
there in
right,
that. We're right
we're
there.
very close. We're very
Yes.
close.
Yes.
He seems to have a really, and he has since he's taken over. He has such a good pulse on the clubhouse, and people do question his decisions. But every baseball manager, like it doesn't matter who it is, right? You're going to
Yeah.
question their decisions at times.
Yes. And they're going to
Sometimes
have
they
that.
work out.
Yes. I was going to say sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't work out. Every
Right.
manager goes through that, folks.
Exactly. So the players love playing for him. He gets the most out of this team, and I think that's like because his demeanor is always so even keel. I think people are even when they're playing bad, everyone's like certain local radio stations or you have people calling in all the time talking about time to fire Rob Thompson. What's your backup plan?
Right.
Like, what's your
Exactly.
backup plan? What would you like him to do? So because he's not Larry Boa, right? He's not getting up there screaming and kicking things and throwing things around and cursing.
Yep.
He's a very even keeled guy. He's gonna talk to his players, and I think they respect him because of that. I guarantee you there is more going on in that clubhouse behind closed doors than anyone knows about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like he is not just sitting there and be like, all right, yeah, like in his post game presser, he doesn't throw his players under the bus. And sometimes that frustrates people because they're like, well, he's been like, Bohm frustrated me so much during April. And I'm like, how can this guy? I felt like he was grounding in double plays when there wasn't even guys on base. Like he would still find a way to ground a double play. And I'm like,
Yes.
say something about him. Say something about him. Bench him. But I'm like, you know what? He knows what he's doing. And
Yeah.
now Bohm turns around. He doesn't throw his players under the bus. But I guarantee you, if players make a bad play, he's calling an office and he's talking to them about it. Like it's
Yeah.
not like it's going unaddressed. And I think we have to understand that in a baseball clubhouse, there's a lot more going on there than as fans and even some media, right? There's only certain parts of the clubhouse that media are allowed to access.
Right.
So there's more going on there than we know. And I think Rob Thomson gets the most out of this team. They just showed a stat the other night. He was the fastest manager in Phillies history of 300 wins, including postseason. He beat out Charlie Manuel. He beat out Dallas Green. So like he as frustrating as people think he can be, he's fine. I give him an A minus.
Exactly. I had a ridiculous, stupid Twitter discussion with somebody last year who wanted him fired. Yeah, exactly. Last year, and they're like, of course, he should be winning as many games as he is as a manager with this roster. Of course, he should be. Give me a break. I don't care how good your roster is. We have seen really good Major League Baseball rosters over the years, right, Eric?
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't been able to do much because of the leadership from the manager. We've seen it time and time again. So that argument absolutely stinks. like you said, there's more to what's going on behind the scenes in terms of camaraderie, in terms of being held accountable. That's what you want out of your manager. Keep things together, keep things cohesive. That's what Rob Thompson's done during the course of his tenure here. That's what he's done. You know?
100%.
Yeah. All right, buddy. That was a great discussion. I really enjoyed our grades there. And we were right,
Yeah,
like you said, we were right around the same areas there.
very close for not discussing it ahead of time. Yeah, we were really close
Yes,
there. That was pretty good.
absolutely. Absolutely. Again, folks, Eric Moratelli from thatballsoutahere.com. I know you've got for our YouTube watchers there, you've got your handle up there for Twitter/X at Eric_Moratelli. Are you anywhere else that you, on the interwebs out there you want to promo?
I'm on Blue Sky. I don't post on it very often just because I feel I feel like it hasn't gotten as much traction. But I'm on there, and I say this. I feel like every time I'm on this show with you, I should really just look it up one of these times beforehand. I forget my handle, but I think I'm the only Eric Moratelli on there. So
I think you are, because I've seen it more than you, I think.
Yeah.
This point. All right, folks. Well, if you're watching on YouTube right here on your screen, our social media sites here at the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show. Let me get that banner off there. All right. And you can follow us just about anywhere. We are on Blue Sky as well. Eric and I are. Search out Jeff Warren. You can search out Mr. Jeff Warren over on TikTok as well, like our Facebook page. Just search out the Philadelphia Sports Table. You're going to find us on various social media platforms out there. And again, Eric Moratelli, buddy, it was great talking to you. Thanks so much for coming on. I'm hoping that you can join us down the road.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jeff.